This is the Louie Tee Network.
I'm ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Overtime! So we head to overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your me, Louie Tee? Welcome to Monday Night Football Overtime. Green Bay Packers. Go, Pack, go. Go, Pack, go. Taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Big game for both teams involved. The Packers, 4-game losing streak. When's the last time you've been able to say that about a Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers-led football team? 4 straight losses. Desperate for a win. They're not out of it in the NFC North Division, although a loss here would pretty much put them out of contention. So to get to 5-6 with a win would put them 2 games back of Detroit. They've already beaten Detroit once. Have another meeting with them. They're behind Minnesota by a game with a win. They've already played Minnesota, lost to them, but they have one more with Minnesota at home. And so everything they want is still in front of them. Detroit has a tough slate down the stretch. Minnesota, they still haven't figured everything out just yet. So everything that the Packers want still in front of them. They just got to win football games, and they needed to start on Monday night. As for the Philadelphia Eagles, it's been a roller coaster season. You start 3-0, then you have your bye week, then you lose 2 straight, then you are kind of in this situation where you can't figure out exactly how to get back to what you were when you were 3-0 to start the season off. Then you win a game, then you lose a game, then you win a game, then you lose a game. And now you find yourself at 500 at 5-5. And this is an opportunity to keep pace with everyone else in that crazy NFC wildcard race. It's a lot of space there to be had for that 6th and final spot. Right now, the Giants have a stranglehold on one of those wild card spots, but nothing's etched in stone there either. They have a tough slate of games coming up, including their next game at Pittsburgh. So things can change very rapidly. If you're the Eagles, you got a shot to keep pace with everyone else. Buccaneers won. So, there's a number of opportunities out there. Get to 6-5 and see what happens. That's what you're looking to do with this football game. So we're going to break this thing down here in a second, but quickly, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network. If you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Subscribe on YouTube to the Louie Tee Network. Also, I'm on Twitter. In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. And also, I'm on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. On Facebook, go ahead and give me that thumbs up. So, in closing, go ahead, follow me on Twitter, like the Facebook page, and first and foremost, before you do anything else, make sure you subscribe to the Louie Tee Network. With that being said, let's jump into this breakdown. Likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe. Monday Night Football overtime gets started with the Packers and the Eagles. Likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe. Like, dislike, banana in the tailpipe.
What y'all, the second team?
We're the first team.
Yeah, we're not gonna fall for a banana in the tailpipe.
You're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
So let's go ahead and jump into this breakdown. We start with the likes of the road team, that being the Green Bay Packers in this game. Opening drive for the Green Bay Packers, phenomenal. And Aaron Rodgers came out, and you could tell they made it a point of emphasis to say, look, we got to take control of this game early with the offense. We can't leave this to chance. We can't do what we did last week versus the Redskins and go 3-and-out and expect the defense to just get stops. We're not good enough there. We've given up a boatload of points. The best defense is a good offense this game. That's what the mindset was. Look, we can't trust the defense. They've given up 31 or more in the last 4 games. Okay? They've given up 40 or more in 2 out of our last 3 contests. We can't do this. We have to control the pace of this game with the offense. And so you saw that on the first possession of the game. Aaron Rodgers goes 5 of 6 for 47 yards, including the touchdown to Davante Adams to get things kicked off. And Green Bay takes a 7-0 lead. And I thought that drive itself set the tone for the remainder of the game. Aaron Rodgers was in total control, and he was in control from the opening snap of this football game. Your next Aaron, this is what I wrote in my notes. Aaron mother effing Rodgers. That throw to Davante Adams for the second touchdown. Come on, man. Stop it. Stop your nonsense, okay? You know what? You know what's funny to me? You know what, that throw, it immediately made me think of this. I had to answer questions about a month ago. People asking me, is Aaron Rodgers done? Remember that Thursday night game versus the Bears? They weren't all that impressive. He checked it down a ton of times. They had no running backs, and they had Ty Montgomery back there, and he checked it down like 20-something times that night. They won the game. It wasn't pretty, but they won. And I came up here, and I want to say that was a Thursday night game versus the Bears in Lambeau, and it was sloppy, and they were trailing in the third quarter, and then they found a way to win at the end and ran away with the game. And I literally sat here for about 10 to 15 minutes being peppered with questions about, is Aaron Rodgers done? Is he past his prime? Is he on the decline? And I'm looking at all these questions. I'm like, do you understand that this is Aaron mother effing Rodgers? Like, are you really asking me this? Like, there are so many different factors that go into when he struggles, but it's not because of Aaron Rodgers. Like, he's still Aaron Rodgers. Remember, this is Aaron Rodgers we're talking about here. Like, if you ask me, what's the quarterback? If you got one guy you can take in the league, who's the first guy you're going to take? I'm taking Aaron mother effing Rodgers. And that throw to Davante Adams made me think of that. And I said, who in the hell in their right mind questions this guy? Is he still good? Is he still the best? Are you kidding me? That throw was insane, man. Effing sane. That's Aaron Rodgers in a nutshell. That's why he's the best, right there. That throw was stupid, is what it was. And after that touchdown, he was 10 of 12 for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns on the first 2 possessions of the game as they jumped out to a 14-7 lead. Jaron Elliott and Jacob Shum. Jacob Shum is the new punter for the Packers, and he had a beautiful kick. And Jaron Elliott gets down there and downs it at the 1-yard line, pinning the Eagles down at their own 1. So I thought that was a big play too. Anytime you can flip the field position, pin a team at their own 1, you never know what's going to happen. It's always a big play there, not allowing the ball to go into the end zone. You go to the Eagles in their first half likes. Clinton Dix their response to Aaron Rodgers' opening drive. Carson Wentz does the exact same thing, has his own opening drive masterpiece where he goes 6 of 6 for 70 yards, takes them right down the field, and he caps it off with a touchdown run of his own. He gets in on a 2-yard scamper, dives in, and gives the Eagles their first points of the game, ties this game up at 7. So right there you thought, okay, tit for tat. This could be a shootout because, you know, the Packers don't play a lot of defense. Eagles normally play outstanding defense at home. So you were like, okay, at some point this is going to calm down on that Eagles side of things, but maybe the Packers won't be able to get stops and the Eagles will be able to continue to score. But that wasn't the case on this evening. But they did get a field goal before the half, which is my last like of the first half of the Eagles. Caleb Sturgis was actually really good on the evening, had 2 field goals, both of them some long ones, one from 48 right before the half, the other from 50 in the third quarter. So he did some good things for them. And anytime you get points before the half, it's usually a momentum boost, and that was a nice drive because it started deep in their own territory. The Packers actually thought they were going to get the football back and try to score again before the half, and the Eagles actually took the football, moved it into field goal range, and ended up getting 3 before the halftime break. So that's the second time I've seen the Packers this season have a team pin deep. They start using their timeouts thinking they're going to get the football back, and they end up giving up points. The other time I saw it done was against the Cowboys, where the Cowboys literally in like 4 plays, 6 plays or so, took it all the way from their own 3 all the way into the end zone, and Bryce Butler caught a touchdown. This time it wasn't as dramatic. They didn't give up 7, but they did give up a field goal to make it 14-10 at the halftime break. Let's get to the first half dislikes for both teams. Really, I don't have any dislikes for either team in the first half. The only one that I have is for the Green Bay Packers, and that's giving up the field goal rate before the halftime break. You had them pinned deep in their own territory, inside their own 10-yard line, and you allowed them to move the football. I mean, literally, I think they were actually inside their own 5, and you let them move it into field goal range and get a field goal before the halftime break. In that situation, you expect your defense to get a stop against a rookie quarterback, force them to punt, and give Aaron Rodgers another shot at scoring points before the half. Instead, you let them get an opportunity to get a field goal before the half. Definitely a big dislike there. So, with that being said, no dislikes for the Eagles in the first half of this game. You could talk about the defense giving it up to Aaron Rodgers, but it's Aaron Rodgers, okay? Simple as that. So I didn't have a problem with what went on. They were only down 4 at the halftime break. Really nothing to really dislike from the Eagles in the first half of this game. You get to the likes in the second half of this game and go back to the visitors, that being the Green Bay Packers. Clinton Dix with an interception on the first possession of the second half. Just an airmail by Carson Wentz. I don't know if that slipped out of his hand or if he tried to put touch on it and it just sailed on him. Whatever the case may be, he was not close to his intended receiver. Clinton Dix was the recipient of the overthrow, picks it off. And then right after that, you get a 50-yard bomb from Rodgers to Davante Adams, which sets them up for another field goal attempt, which made it 20. I want to say it made it 17-10 at that point in the game. So that was a big play there as you get the interception and then you find a way to get points off of it. And again, that's what the good teams in this league do. They create turnovers and turn those turnovers into points. And the Packers haven't been doing that of late. They did it in this game, and it helped them secure this victory. Speaking of Davante Adams, he's the last like on my list, or actually my second to last like on my list for the Packers in the second half of this game. Davante Adams, I talked about him when the Packers got him, and I said everyone is going to regret allowing Davante Adams to go to Green Bay. Allowing him to be there, to be selected by the Packers. He just struck me as a Green Bay Packer. And I said, if he finds his way to Green Bay, you're going to regret this. And he's starting to show up. Huge for Aaron Rodgers. I made some tremendous plays, and he's been the go-to guy this season for Aaron Rodgers. And once Jordy Nelson gets back into the swing of things, you can start to see Jordy Nelson getting back into the swing of things, they're going to be that much more dangerous offensively. Everyone kept asking, what's wrong with Aaron Rodgers? What's wrong with Aaron Rodgers? There's nothing wrong with Aaron Rodgers. His targets are coming along slowly. Cobb's starting to get back into the mix. And as soon as they get a real running game back there, and I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't think Eddie Lacy's coming back anytime soon. But Christian Michael, more than capable of getting back there and making some things happen. You wait and see. If this Packers team isn't put to rest, if someone doesn't lay them down and bury them, they're going to come back, they're going to steal that division, and you're going to really be sorry because if they can get hot, they got Aaron Rodgers, man. That's all you need come this time of the season is a guy like Aaron Rodgers on your side. You got a shot, and this Packers team does have a shot because they've got AR-12 in their backfield. But Davante Adams, stellar in this game, has been stellar all season long. He's definitely a like. And then that final possession of the game, eating up damn near 10 minutes of the fourth quarter clock to put the game away. They go for it on 4th and 5 after the Eagles have a penalty that takes a 4th and 10 and turns it into a 4th and 5. And they say, you know what, to hell with it. We're going to go for it. And they go back shoulder fade. Jordy Nelson, maybe he gets away with a push off. Maybe he doesn't. Doesn't matter. He catches the football. And for all intents and purposes, put this game on ice as they were able to really drain the clock, kick a field goal, go up 14, and leave the Eagles with no timeouts and really no chance in this football game. So those were my likes for the Packers in the second half of this game. You go to the Eagles in the second half of this game, and their likes, crickets. There were none. They did nothing in this game of any merit in the second half that helped them win. Other than Caleb Sturgis' 50-yard field goal, they scored no other points. They did nothing well on the offensive side of the football. They had the turnover. The defense didn't get stops. Fletcher Cox had a foolish personal foul penalty that I wasn't killing him for it because I didn't think it was egregious, but he did come up towards the head neck region. I think that's what got it called. But again, they couldn't get out of their own way tonight. And so there weren't any likes in the second half for the Philadelphia Eagles. You go to the dislikes in the second half. For me, the Packers don't have any. They held the Eagles to 3 points in the second half, while they were able to score 13 points. They dominated time of possession. They extended drives. They kept the defense off the field. They did everything that they set out to do before the game started in the second half to allow them to run away with this victory, a well-needed one to snap that 4-game losing streak. And so really not many things to dislike in the second half of this game from the Green Bay Packers. They took care of business and did everything that they set out to do when they game planned for the Eagles. They said, look, we got to keep the defense off the field. Mission accomplished in the second half. Aaron Rodgers dominated time of possession, lengthy drives, eating up the clock, ending in points, and that was the difference in this game. So no dislikes for the Packers in the second half. Meanwhile, for the Eagles, the second half dislikes. Wentz opening drive, interception of the second half. Air mails it to Clinton Dix. Then you give up the 50-yard pass. Okay, so you give up the interception. You still have the Packers in their own territory. Then you give up the 50-yard pass. It was a rough night for Nolan Carroll, that's for sure. And then you have the Fletcher Cox personal foul penalty. Again, I didn't think it was egregious enough to warrant a flag, but again, I understand hand up around the neck, head region. I think that's what got it called, but I didn't agree with it. I thought it was a hit that was within the framework of the rules, I thought, and I didn't think it should have been called. But that was a huge, costly penalty. It would have been 4th down. Packers would have had to punt. Instead, they get the 1st down, and that leads to Aaron Ripkowski touchdown to extend the lead out to 24-13, which for all intents and purposes put this game away, as the Eagles don't score a ton of points at home. They don't give up a ton. That's why they were undefeated at home, but they don't score a ton of points either. So 24 was a lot. I thought that was going to be too rich for the Eagles' blood on this night, and it was, as they would not move off of 13 for the remainder of the night. So that was essentially it. Not getting the stop at the end. You could throw that in there. I don't really need to harp on it because at that point they were pretty much dead in the water. So that's this game in a nutshell. A banana in the tailpipe. Refuse to believe that the Packers are dead in that division. They got a faint pulse. I think that this is Detroit's division to lose after winning on Thanksgiving. I didn't think Detroit would win on Thanksgiving versus Minnesota. They did. And so I think this is Detroit's division to lose. But if I had to pick a dark horse, it's the Green Bay Packers. Don't count them out. They have Aaron Rodgers, and that's good enough for me. So not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that the Packers are dead. Even though I pronounced them dead on this program last week, they showed me something in this game because I didn't expect them to go to Philadelphia and win. And even if they did win, I expected it to be much closer. They dominated this football game. And if Aaron Rodgers is okay, and I probably should have put this on my dislikes list, his injury looks like he did something to his hamstring. If he's okay, they're going to be a team that you got to reckon with down the stretch of this season. Banana in the tailpipe for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that they're going to be a playoff team this year. Look, no one expected the Eagles to be where they are right now. At 5-5 going into this game, to me, that was an overachievement. Everyone had the Eagles being the worst team in the NFC East, and they're going to be the worst team in the NFC East, but no one had them even being remotely close to where they are now. I mean, I had them 5-11 before the season started. Most pundits said, oh, the Eagles are going to be horrible. They're starting Wentz, so they're going to have regression, and they're going to take a huge step backwards, and, yada, 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 yada. But they came out, started 3-0. Then they lost 3 straight. Then they started win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1. And now they found themselves at 5-5 going into this game. They had a shot to really bury a wounded Green Bay Packers football team. Instead, they let the Packers come in and snap their home winning streak. And now they're at 5-6. And I think this is the part of the season where they realize that they weren't supposed to be good this season, and they start losing football games. We'll see what happens, but I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that this Eagles team is going to find a way to keep this thing going and finish 8-8 or 9-7. I think they're going to finish this season off at 6-10, 7-9 at best, and really start to settle in at the bottom of this NFC East division. Now, let's go to where this game was won.
But wake her ass up! We're gonna win tomorrow!
Winning. You starting to get the concept now? Oops. Winning.
So for me, where this game was won was pretty simple. It was the Packers offense versus the Eagles defense. The Eagles defense at home, they've been playing at a different level. They've been playing at an elite level at home. The points per game, the amount of pressures they've gotten on quarterbacks, the amount of turnovers that they forced, the red zone defense, all those things have been stellar at home. You expected them to try to exert that dominance onto the Green Bay Packers offense and Aaron Rodgers, and you expected them to try to come out and get a win on that side of the football, and they failed miserably. It was an epic fail defensively tonight. Aaron Rodgers controlled the pace of the game, the tempo. He controlled how long that Eagles defense stayed on the field. They made some mistakes, pass interference penalty, not locating the football, personal foul penalty on Aaron Rodgers. They had an offsides penalty. They just did a number of things to stop their defense from getting off the field and keep the Packers offense on the field. And so where this game was won was when the Green Bay Packers offense was able to dominate, not just sustain offense, not just score points, but dominate that Eagles defense. They were at 1 point 6 of 6 on third downs. I'd love to see their third down percentage in this game because it was very high as they continued to convert and stay on the field. Dominated time of possession. The Packers offense beating the Eagles defense. That's where this game was won. I've said all that I have needed to say for this game and breaking it down. Now let's hear from you guys and all of your comments and what you had to say on the Green Bay Packers defeating the Philadelphia Eagles 27-13. Both teams leaving this game at 5-6 on the season.
What the hell?
Yo, the sign is real simple, B. It says wrap it up. Wrap that shit up, B.
So let's wrap this thing on up. Let's get to some of these comments and see what you guys have to say. Anal Probe 9000 says, still blows me away that people actually count A-Rod out. And he says, hashtag Loco Mofos. I feel the same way. I basically went on a little bit of a rant earlier. And not much of a rant, more of a soliloquy, if you will, about how people were peppering me with comments about Aaron Rodgers and is he done? Is he washed up? Is he on the decline? This, that, and the third. And I'm like, come on, man, it's Aaron Rodgers. What are you talking about? Anal Probe 9000 says, you might see a new king of the throne come Wednesday. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, this was a pretty easy week. Last week was an easy week. This one had some twists and some turns in there. You know, a couple of games that could have went either way. I don't know how many people picked Kansas City to beat Denver, especially coming off of the loss to Tampa Bay. I don't know how many people picked Tampa Bay to beat Seattle. If you did pick that, then you probably slipped up somewhere else. I know a lot of people probably swept the Thursday Thanksgiving games. I didn't, but this was an easy week to get double digits because all 16 games were on the slate. Everybody should have been in double digits and gotten at least 10 games right. So, and that wasn't a hard task this week. Andrew Kim says, I could have gotten more picks right if I switched some of my picks around, but I'm more than satisfied with 12 right picks this week, the most I've had this season after a long streak of average picks. Also, he says, from week 5 to week 12, to be specific, I was under double digits and started submitting picks at week 2. He says, ever since the Lions played the Eagles, it's been mostly downhill for them. Had a surprising start, but unfortunately just don't have the weapons for Wentz to sustain offense like we thought. And he also says, let's see what he says. He says, I still see the Lions winning the division and the Vikings ahead of the Packers. Feel like the game back behind the Vikings really hinders their chances at a playoff spot for the Packers. It does, but it doesn't because the Vikings, they're so inconsistent, and they still got them one more time at Lambeau. Everything the Packers want is right in front of them. They just got to win football games. And it's easier said than done, but the Lions have a tough slate ahead of them. They've got a bunch of tough road games, and they got to play the Packers once more. And so everything, like I said, the Packers could want, it's right there in front of them. This division can be won at 9-7. And if the Packers take care of business within the division, they can still win this division. They're 2-1 in the division right now. They've beat both the Packers and the Lions once. Lost to the Vikings. They've still got all 3 of their games in the division against each one of those opponents. If they win the rest of those games and go 5-1 in the division, they got a shot because that would mean they would have swept the Lions. And I think the Lions have some tough games coming up. I know they're on the road at Dallas at one point. Again, who knows what the Cowboys are playing for at that point in the season, but they've got some toughies coming up. And we'll see what they do with them. It's going to be interesting to see how that division shakes out. Captain Spartan 04 says, who carries who more? Alabama carrying the SEC or Wentz carrying the Eagles offense team as a whole? I'd have to go with Wentz. Alabama, even though it carries the SEC, there are other teams that have rabid fan bases and teams that are actually somewhat good in the SEC, whereas with Wentz, there's not a lot of talent around him. At running back, at the wide receiver position, I think the tight ends are actually okay, but there's not a lot out there, man. There's just not. So it's tough on them. It's really tough. RG3, hashtag smoking that 3, hashtag 1000 says, is Adam becoming a number one wide receiver? Adam, you talking about Davante Adams with an S, not Adam. Davante Adams. Yes, he is becoming that guy for Aaron Rodgers, but I think he didn't have to be. That's the beauty of this. I think it's a 1A, 1B type of connection there with Jordy Nelson and himself, and that will allow him to not have the pressure, because last year we saw him in a similar role without Jordy Nelson, and he was asked to be the guy, and he wasn't prepared for that last year, and he struggled in that role. And so this year, he's a little bit more comfortable, and now he's got Jordy Nelson to take some of that load off of him. He's got a healthy Randall Cobb, so he doesn't have to be that guy. I think he would flourish in a number 2 role more so than a number 1, but I think he's capable of being a number 1 in Green Bay. But I like how he has help with Jordy. I think everyone looks at Jordy as the number 1 option out there and Adams as the number 2, which bodes well for him because I think he plays better in that role more so than a number 1, true number 1 wide receiver. Mondraw says, did Randall and Matthews all of a sudden turn that defense into a good enough defense? Well, I tell you what, their cornerback situation was so bad. And with Demarius Randall coming back, that is a huge boost to their defense because in that secondary, they were getting trashed week in and week out because they had a whole bunch of young guys out there, Quentin Rollins and the kid from Miami that was just getting destroyed week in and week out. At some point, they needed some relief, and Quentin and having Demarius Randall come back, yes, that is a huge lift. Clay Matthews was back last week versus the Redskins, but those guys make a difference without a doubt, definitely. I wouldn't say it turned the defense into a good enough defense. I mean, they were hardly on the field tonight. The offense for the Packers controlled the game essentially and the time of possession. So they really weren't on the field as much tonight. But yes, it does help that defense tremendously. That's for sure. All right, moving right along. Kimbo Raider says, do you think Randall Cobb is a number 1, 2, or 3 receiver? I think he's a number 3 in the Packers. He's a number 3 receiver. He's not average. He's better than an average number 3 receiver, but he's a number 3 receiver in their offense for sure. And that's where he belongs. He should be a number 3 option. We've seen him be a number 2 before when it was just him and Jordy, and it was fine. That's why he got paid. But I think he should be in the number 3 role. And I think that's where he's at his best, and that's where he is in his Packers offense, yes. Mondraw says, the Packers have the Texans, Seahawks, Bears, Vikings, and Lions. As much as I'd like them to lose, I don't see them losing more than 2 games. They're going to beat the Texans. They may beat the Seahawks. They may not. They're going to beat the Bears. I think they're going to beat the Vikings because that one's at home. I think that's the last game of the season, if I'm not mistaken. And then they have the Lions again in Detroit, and they can win that game. So they've got a shot. They got a shot, like I said, but we got to see what happens. The bad part about the situation that the Packers find themselves in is that you got to rely on other teams for help. You hate to have to rely on other teams to help you out when you don't control your fate, when you don't control the outcome of your season because of things you've done in the past to put you in a position where you have to rely on others. You're at the mercy of others, and it sucks. And so they can only do what they can do, which is just win games, and then they got to hope that they get help from other teams to get losses for the teams above them, which would allow them to climb back into that divisional race. So it's going to be tough on them. We'll see what happens. And that's going to be it. So with that being said, Eagles, home winning streak done. They lose their first game, and the invincibility cloak that they had at home, it's been shattered. And so now they're just ordinary at home. They're just ordinary people. They like John Legend, man. Ordinary people at home. And now they're 5-6. And in a division like the NFC East where there's small margin for error, and in that NFC conference as a whole where there was small margin for error for the Eagles, they're now officially in trouble. As for the Packers, their 5-6 looks totally different than the Eagles' 5-6. Packers are excited to be at 5-6 now after losing 4 straight. And they look up in their division, and it's not the NFC East, and there is no 10-1 team and no 8-3 team. They look up and they see a 7-4 Lions team that almost lost at home to the Vikings, who are also ahead of them at 6-5, and they say, we can beat both of these teams. We can leapfrog both of these teams if we just take care of business. So Packers feel good about where they are now. I think they have a shot down the stretch. We'll see what happens. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie Tee Network. Monday Night Football overtime. Packers get it done 27-13. Get their record to 5-6. Meanwhile, the Eagles drop to 5-6. 2 teams at 5-6 looking at their 5-6 records 2 totally different ways. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I will see you tomorrow if you're joining me for the Redskins Report live, or I'll see you on Wednesday if you're joining me for Louie Tee Live. Either way, you'll see this face at some point this week. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I will see you next time. Have a good one.
Broncos won the Super Bowl when Peyton Manning retired. 49ers won 5 games and Tom Sula got fired. RG's in Cleveland and my Rams hit the West Coast. Gonna be sleepless in Seattle cause that 12-man ain't beast mode. Oh yeah, I knew it was something I forgot to mention. Yeah, old Tom Brady about to get that suspension. Yeah, I know the Pats fans probably think that's whack. Yeah, but at the end of the day, your balls was flat. It's that time again. It's that time again to go hard in the offseason, cause we trying to win. We gon' go so hard, we don't take no days off. Hopefully